I'm Joe Delaney.
Hi, I'm Blake.
I'm Joe Fraish.
I am Danny.
Yeah, we do not have our fifth castmate Raj today, so today is going to be a little bit of a more, loose discussion. Just catching up after the holidays. Recording this on January 1st. See what
Happy
games
New Year,
we played,
everyone.
over the holidays. Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Looking forward to 2024 being a much better year than 2023.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which was already a
I have a
decent year overall.
I have a really good feeling
least
about
me.
this year.
You do?
Me too.
Same.
That's good.
All had some good stuff going on, and it was a very very different year for me between getting a new job and working on a screenplay and actually finishing something related to that, and then doing this podcast with you fine gentlemen. So it's been a very good year.
Oh yeah.
Now, if I can only lose all the weight that I gained last year, then I'll be golden.
One thing at a time.
There you go. My goal is to actually start playing games again. Since I am on a gaming podcast, I should probably start the curriculum, right?
You add a unique spin to it, though. You're the guy that just doesn't play games anymore.
Yeah, I'm the guy that used to play games. I've been out so long.
Oh, I got Dishonored 2 because I had the first one. I played it a long time ago and I liked it a lot. I was a big supporter of that game. I never got to play 2 just because it came out at a weird time. And then let's see. I think that's the only game I got. And then for Christmas, my one friend got me Shadows of Doubt, which I've wanted for a very, very long time. And I'm very happy I got it. It's fascinating, it's deep, but it's very difficult, and it's very hard to play on the Steam Deck. So I might not continue on the Steam Deck playing it. But it's
Can you transfer stuff over? Like if you have it on Steam Deck and you play it on Steam?
Yeah, it's linked. So
okay, that's cool.
Everything on your Steam, basically you log into your account, so your entire library account and everything is on the Steam Deck. And there are some games that won't run on Steam Deck, or at least they're not verified for it. Some aren't playable, but some are.
Okay.
Some games that might not be verified are playable on the Steam Deck. There's some games that aren't playable because they might have an outside launcher. Like apparently Uplay causes some games not to run, but if you have Uconnect, it still works. Because Crystal was trying to play Assassin's Creed 2, which didn't work, but I guess Brotherhood did, but Revelations also didn't. So it's very weird. But as far as what I played a little Sunset Overdrive today, which I'm glad that I finally got to play a little bit of that game because it's fun. It's very fun.
Nice.
And then
I remember the atmosphere for that game being. I remember the atmosphere for that game being fairly comical. Sunset Overdrive.
It's one of those games where it's very much quantity over quality of the jokes. Like everything's it's very self-aware, but it's self-aware to the point where they're trying too hard to be self-aware. So there's not a lot of jokes that are funny. But I will say it's very colorful. It's floaty. It's like Ratchet and Clank, basically, but with a lot more an element of the style element to it, like you have in like Devil May Cry, where you keep up your style meter and as that builds up, it unlocks special moves that you can do in combat. It's fun. But the game I'm really going to get deep into is Chroma Squad, which is it's a tactics RPG based around the Power Rangers, kind of. Basically, this group of people are like the stunt performers on a Power Rangers show, and they get fed up with the director because he's just making shit content. So they were like, well, fuck you, we're leaving. We're going to start our own studio, make our own Power Rangers type show, and go from there. So the whole thing is you're basically are going to be each episode is in its own little battle. And there's little quests you can do during the battle to get more money or to bring in more viewers, which lets you unlock more stuff. It's fascinating. It's very funny and fun. I played it a long time ago, but it's been a minute, and it works great on the Steam Deck. So mostly because there's
well,
the
that came
one
out in
big problem with the Steam Deck
2015.
is when you have to type in something. Yeah, and the only problem I have with the Steam Deck so far is when you have to type in stuff for certain things because you have to like open the keyboard and sometimes it doesn't work correctly. So
Yes.
Oh, this is the same the same game studio that made Knights of Pen and Paper. That was a fun game.
I
Have
don't
you
think
guys
I
ever
played
have you
that
ever,
one.
so basically it's a pixelated art style RPG game where you basically are sitting at a table and you're playing essentially like a game of D&D. But it's it's shown as like the table is actually like part of the world and like the entire environment is happening behind you. So you like go on quests and whatnot. And it's very um ah, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very very cartoony. You would like it
Yes.
if you definitely liked the art style of Chroma Squad. You would like Knights of Pen and Paper.
Okay. Well, throwing my phone all over the place. I'll have to check that out then.
Yeah, I'll
Knights
drop it
of-
in the chat for you.
Sure.
Now, all these games you bought, all these like 50 games you bought, Danny, have you played any?
All these 125,000 games you bought, Dan. The entire library.
I did play. Let's see here. I did play about 2-3 hours of Mass Effect. I played about 20-30 minutes of Pyre, 15 minutes of Alice Madness Returns, 10-15 minutes of Lords of Shadow, half an hour of Enter the Gungeon, half an hour of, well, Sunset Overdrive I had for a while, so I'm not going to count that. So yeah, I played a good chunk of these, and I booted up Hades really quick because I was trying to get my cross save to work between Switch and Steam. That took a little bit, but I got to work and was able to boot it up and play it just fine. And I played about half an hour or so of Transistor. So yeah, I've at least put some time into the different games.
Like okay, so like over the holiday, I actually picked up a couple games on the Nintendo eShop. I picked up
Which ones?
Yooka Laylee because it was on like deep discount.
Okay.
And I'm finally gonna give that game a try. I have no idea what it's about. I know
I
it's
got feelings on that one.
by Rare, right?
It's
from
by
previous
Rare
members.
developers. Like it's by Platonic, but it's by people who used to work for Rare, like during like the Banjo-Kazooie days.
Oh, okay.
In Donkey Kong
All right. So
64 days.
basically, it's gonna be like okay.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like an homage to those types of games, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and it's good in some ways and rough in some others. Um, there's actually a sequel to Yooka-Laylee that's more in the line of like the 2D Donkey Kong Country games because it's a 2D platformer instead of a 3D collectathon, and it's actually much better than
Mhm.
the standard Yooka-Laylee.
Oh.
It's called the Impossible Lair, and it didn't get that much hype when it came out. It just sort of came and like went, but it's actually really great. Like
Nice.
it's a lot like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze specifically. Not quite as great, but it's a really solid little game that I don't know. I just think they're a lot better at making the 2D platformer side of things than the 3D platformer ones. But the Yooka-Laylee one's got some cool stuff in it. I think you'll find some enjoyment from it for sure.
So yeah, I also picked up Super Meat Boy Forever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I love the original Super Meat Boy, and I saw that was on sale, so I was like, yeah, I'll try that out.
Mhm.
I didn't know it was like an endless runner type style where you don't really get.
Yeah.
That's it. That's like the only thing that's kind of throwing me off with the whole movements. But I mean, I'm enjoying it a little bit. And then I did pick
I
up
never played it.
Hades. I picked up Hades. So
Dynamite game. Absolutely dynamite.
That is a game that will.
So
If
I played
you
about
get into
10.
it.
I played about 10 minutes of that the other night, and then
Mhm.
my attention span ended up getting drawn elsewhere, which is also an issue.
It's a good game for that though, because you can pick it up and play it for like a half an hour and still get a good run out of it. It's
Good luck
each
trying
run
to play
is
it for just a half an hour, though.
that is true. If you get into it, you really get into it. Like you will.
I lost a lot of sleep playing that game up till like 2 a.m, just saying just one more run. Oh, I did great that time. I got to do one more run. Oh, I didn't do that great that time. I can do one more run.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of game is it?
It's a roguelite.
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 Okay.
I need to Google that because that's a new video game term. I know. Maybe it's because I'm a boomer, basically, but I don't know what that. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
You're like 3 months older than me.
I know, right? Yeah. Oh, I know. Actually, yeah. It was explained in the previous one, but I don't know what it's like. Okay, apparently it derives from a fairly early video game, also called Rogue.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
They never were able to come up with a name that was more specific to it than roguelite. I until a few years ago, I didn't know it was named after a specific video game. Like I wasn't entirely sure about that.
Was the entirety
honestly,
of Rogue all in ASCII? It was like
I don't know.
Like they use like computer symbols to draw like the maps and everything. Rogue.
I don't know. I never played it.
Rogue.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Experience. Okay.
Yeah. If you look it up, it's basically just all like symbols.
They just re-released it. Not looks like 2020. Like
cool
updated for
see the roots of that genre.
Yep, there you go.
And then there's the original, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very much like Metroidvania, where it's like really this genre has been around for like 2 decades or more, and you weren't able to come up with a better name than just saying it's like this other game.
Well, yeah, Metroidvania. That's another one that's
yeah,
been around for a million years.
One of my favorite genres.
Mm-hmm.
Metroid?
Which I just recently did buy a Metroidvania that I really like and like to talk about. I got it off Steam. It's called Pseudoregalia. It's a 3D Metroidvania, an indie one, and it's done in the style of like an N64 game. Like it has like that sort of 64-bit, PS1 N64 style, and you play as like. Well, I'll get to what you play as, but it's just got like incredible movement, like a really cool and addictive upgrade system where it's pretty non-linear. Like I feel like you can pretty much go any number of different places and get the upgrades in like whatever order you want to, and it makes it a little trickier because you can get lost a lot easier that way. But it also does leave a lot of room to like explore and experiment and stuff like that, and it's got like a lot of great reviews. It's got like a 10 out of 10 on Steam. But if you look at the comments, like half of them are people saying like, oh, this game controls beautifully. It's got this great sense of exploration. It's got all this stuff. But then the other half is what I was saying about who you play as. You play as like this sexy goat lady who has just the thickest ass, and the other comments are all just thirst comments, just being like,
"Oh no,
goat lady thick." I felt like such shame buying this game. I'm just like,
lady.
I'm mostly buying it for the gameplay, but it's really good. It's only $6, like not even on sale. Like it's just how much it costs. It's only like apparently only like 5 to 6 hours long, and I'm probably close to finishing it actually. It's kind of hard to track your progression in a game like that because it's like so much of it is so open ended, and you're not entirely sure how much you're progressing. That's the way a lot of Metroidvanias are, but it's really good. I'd highly recommend it. Also, I feel like Blake hasn't talked yet about.
I've been
another one of mine.
I've been playing God of War, the 2018 release, because I never did, and I'm not. I'm really, really enjoying it. I don't know how far into the game I am because I'm being very ignorant to everything about it. like I'm really like I haven't gone and looked up any videos except for like there's 2 puzzles that I could not figure out. That was the only thing. And yeah, like I've stayed away from the Wikipedia page, all that sort of stuff, and like I just was it where you restored the light in one of the realms. That's I just finished that, so I'm going on to the next thing. I have 2 quests
Even like
to
that,
do.
the elf realm, like Alfheim, I think it was.
Yeah, Alfheim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And the relationship between Kratos and Boy are finally it's coming a little bit closer because I was honestly getting annoyed. Like, okay, how many times are you gonna call him Boy? Like, Boy, come here, read this, read this. Like, if we recorded this like two days ago, I would have actually been like in the vocal range of of Kratos because my voice was so deep. But yeah, it was good.
You must read
and
definitely this for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what this is. Read it for me. Okay, good. Moving on. I'm gonna be a dick to you still.
Yeah, that's part of the game's like character development, though. This is like how distant and you know they are, but it does take a little bit. Like I feel like a little bit too long, for that to change. But that does make it so when it does change, and they start to become closer, it makes it all the more impactful. And again, without spoiling it, obviously it builds into the second game pretty well too. Did you play the original games, right, Blake?
Yeah, I played the original trilogy, but it was like, I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. And it had like at the time, because of other games, I was like really into Greek mythology. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. They've got this here and that this person there, or that god here, that hero or whatever. It's fun. But at the end of the day, it was still a hack and slash game. There wasn't much thought into it, especially the first one. You just went forward, slashed away, stabbed, and did an OP move, and you moved on to the next thing. That was my take from it the whole time. But I like the story, and and I think it at the end of it, they things came together really well. So I have no idea what's in store for this, but I know that I have at least one game left and another apparently really good DLC to hit. So
speaking of that, that's Danny and I just finished that.
Yeah, so I know. I wish I should just leave right now to like let you guys talk about it.
No. If you have anything else to say about God of War 2018, I definitely want to hear.
Go for it.
Yeah. Right now, I guess on the thing that I really like are obviously the character development that's happening between the two. Like I told you guys in the chat, there was the mythology that's involved. I started looking up Norse mythologies just to get more familiar with it, and there were some things that I saw, and I thought, oh, that the Bifrost thing. Okay, I know what that is now. The different realms. That was really cool. And I guess like on the negative side, it's I wish the character development would go a little bit faster, but maybe that's because of I don't know where I am socially right now. Like I want things to go fast. like
too
let's
old
go. Let's get this
shit.
done. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Be nice to your son.
Yeah, basically, like you be nice to this kid for a little bit.
His mom just died. Beat. Slack. He's like 8.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
like
in,
they were in the
North
canoe
mythology
and
years,
Kratos
like,
said to it. Yeah, and then like when him and Atreus and Kratos were in the canoe, and he's just like basically he told Atreus Kratos told Atreus like, yeah, I'm also in mourning. I'm just not showing it to you because how the hell would you know? Like he's keeping it up he's keeping it all bottled up inside, and I'm curious if that lets out a little bit. So I am also so what I like to do also when I throw things out in the trash, I like to do a little basketball thing. But what I'm doing now is I'm like doing that, and I'm like shouting out Nista because anytime the arrows go, that's what he says right now. So I'm doing that, and
When I
yeah,
play God of
overall,
War, I would anytime I wanted to like open a box instead of just opening it nicely, I would smash.
yeah,
Smash
smash
it.
it right,
Push over.
Right
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
Forearm deep into a box.
Yeah. Some of the puzzles have been really frustrating because of like the
Mhm.
timing that you have to have. It's like
Mhm.
really, really specific. There was one I remember. This is the one I had to look up, where you had to like throw the axe, and it had to cut through vines at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And this was towards the end of the first realm that you go in. That's not Midgard,
hmm
and it was something that I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, all right, well, I can get one from this angle, but how the hell am I? How am I going to get this from the other angle?
Mhm.
And I didn't even think for the longest time until I watched this video. Throw it, let it land on a certain spot, and then move to another spot in the map, and then
Mhm.
retrieve the axe. And I thought,
hmm
oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's what
So
you call a pro gamer move.
yeah, yeah. I've never been good at games with like lots of combo moves, so
hmm
I'm definitely not utilizing that system very well.
I was about to ask you
Much
how you like the combat.
I like the combat a lot. It's again my own issues with like games that have a lot of combo moves and stuff. Like it's
hmm
just hard for me to memorize that stuff. But like Super Smash Brothers was like, or like on Super Smash Brothers Melee, and was it Brawl? I think was after that. That
hmm
was like the most I could do with it because it was like generally the same combo for every character, but it was just a different type of attack essentially. But that's like my only issue with it. And then actually sometimes when I'll get overwhelmed a little bit in certain parts of combat.
hmm
Because I'm not remembering like, oh wait, that's right, I can't do this thing right now. Like I can't do like the rage attack thing because it's not full. But then I realized, wait a second, no, I can do it. It doesn't need to be full. It's just the meter, and it just runs out.
hmm
Um, so once I realized that was okay. But yeah, overall, I really do like the combat. The probably the most negative thing I would say about it right now is that uh, Kratos. He's a cool dude. He's a god, all that good stuff, and he can't swim. I'm like, really? You need the damn boat to go everywhere, dude? Come on.
There's
I mean,
like
it is,
that's like one thing about those games that I love God of War and God of War Ragnarok a lot. But there are just like some moments where I'm like, you're playing as like a literal god, and there's like a small ledge that you just
hmm
like can't go around
Yeah,
sometimes, and like it's
yeah,
like I have to find another way, even though just like fucking I'm just like a normal flubby guy. Like I would just like slide around the rock. Like you could do that. Like I
yeah,
know a lot of games do that, but it's just really funny to me that the designers don't take like a few minutes longer to like make an obstacle that's a bit more imposing. To be like, okay,
yeah,
I can understand why he wouldn't be able to go over this instead of just like a small like waist high gate. And Kratos is
yeah,
like, well, there's no way. I have to go find
I need to go
Veggie.
home.
What am I?
yeah, yeah. So overall, it's great. I love it. So far, I still feel like I'm in the early game still, but
Mhm.
it's my goodness, I can't wait to see what the journey brings. That's
I'm excited for
that's what
you.
I'll close with.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Want to
it's
hear
yes,
more about it?
it truly it's easily it was probably my favorite game of 2018, and that's also coming from the guy who got lost to sleep playing Red Dead Redemption that year.
hmm
Um, I still definitely think I liked it more than Red Dead Redemption 2 as much as I loved Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay.
I still think that God of War was easily the stronger of the two titles. Just maybe it's just because again, Red Dead Redemption 2 was way too long for me, I felt. I
Okay.
can't just go back and play through that game again like I maybe could do with God of War, like New Game Plus or whatever.
Red Dead
Wow.
2 is an ordeal to go through.
Yes.
Like it's great, but it's an ordeal. They're both
Yes.
they're my second and third favorite game
Mhm.
of that year after Into the Breach.
Yeah, I tried playing Red Dead on my base model PS4, and it is the most god awful experience that you would ever experience.
Is that
Really?
fan running like a jet engine?
Jet engine.
I played on the Pro, so I guess I can kind of see
Yeah.
that. 'Cause
I
they-
ran it
they
okay,
did
I thought.
Yeah.
I think I ran it on the original PlayStation 4, and yeah, that fan was going, but I was having a good time.
I can't believe they haven't come up with a PS5 upgrade for it yet, or a Series X upgrade.
Well, they're spending all their time remastering Red Dead Redemption 1 remastering, which they
Right.
Is that
finally
true?
just got around
That's
to.
real. That's actually happening.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah,
back
it
in
came out in
October.
for the Switch.
Yeah, it was like in October or something. But yeah,
Oh my
they
goodness.
they remastered
apparently-
it. But it was weird because they didn't even like make it 60 frames per second or like add 4K resolution to like the PS4.
It was
version or
60 on
something weird.
PS4. It was not 60 on Switch though. from what I
Okay.
heard.
Okay, 'cause I heard they had to update it.
You would think they would have just like bare minimum ran it through like some kind of like AI upscaler to like update all the textures at least.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was the
That's
problem. I think
kinda
it was they
what
ported, like it was a port. They just took a port of like I think the Xbox version and just put it on the
Mhm.
consoles, and like some of them didn't run great or something. But I remember they had to do an update to like basically fix a lot of some of the performance in the. I think it was at least the PlayStation version, because with the
Gotcha.
Xbox they have like with their system they improve all the older backwards compatible games to make them 4K resolution and like run at a solid frame rate and everything. And I'd like to get it, but not for $50.
Yeah, if it's ever on sale for like
Oh wait,
maybe $15,
I'll give it 20.
Maybe
I'll
get
give it 20,
but
just because I love the first one. That was another one I played through twice,
I
which
love
that was an ordeal.
Red Dead 1.
Yeah, Red Dead 1 was fantastic.
Mhm.
I remember spending many hours playing that. I tried playing Red Dead 2 and I couldn't. I don't know if I just wasn't in the right mindset when I was trying it, but I couldn't get my head around the controller scheme for all the menus.
It's a bit cumbersome.
Yeah.
It's a very cumbersome game.
That would be the word I'd use to describe that game. Like in terms of it, like a negative thing would be cumbersome.
I think if you got into it, Joe,
yeah, it wasn't approachable.
You'd really like it.
It wasn't approachable for me.
Because you were talking about the other day when we were talking about GTA, about how you'd like to see more just like living your life aspects in GTA, and I think Red Dead 2 has a lot of those things that you were talking about. That during that time that you're saying, like, just having having like a job or just like doing stuff. In that game, that's a lot of what you do. You're hunting and bringing stuff back for your camp, and doing it's not like like a normal job, but like bounty hunting and stuff. There's just a lot more like sim aspects to Red Dead 2 than a lot of other Rockstar games.
Danny, did you get a emotional reaction from from God of War to the 2018 like you did?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay. Right.
That one, and then I was emotional the entire time playing it.
Okay.
And then the ending of the game was pretty beautiful, and I'm not going to talk about too much, but the second game got me like right in the feels. Like I legit cried during it.
That is a manly tears game.
Yes,
yes, gotcha.
Very much so.
Cool. Good.
Because then you have the part near the end, but then you have the post credits part after that makes you just all over again. I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay, cool.
So I'm excited for you, Blake. I don't know. I hope it hasn't been. There's a. I'm not going to obviously spoil it here, but there's a moment about halfway through God of War 2018 that Danny already knows what I'm talking about. That is just like the most like.
Oh no.
Like, no, I mean it's awesome. It's amazing.
It's perfect. It's the perfect.
Okay.
It's like a perfect segment of the game. Like everything about it is just perfect.
I get chills just thinking about it. Like I'm thinking about it right now, and it's
awesome.
Just giving me like ooh. Like it's so good. And
I was sad. I did have it spoiled for me early on because they were doing a review for it and they just plugged in like a segment of the game. I was like, come on.
Why would you do that?
Well, and that was the
Yeah.
part about Valhalla that sucked, because I was going on YouTube. I was just scrolling down. It was one of the YouTube shorts, and it showed a screenshot of something that, like, just the brief thing
Yeah.
that happens in it. And I was like, "Are you fucking
Mhm.
kidding me?" The only thing I'll say about
Yeah.
Valhalla is that Chris Judge put in a fucking Oscar-worthy performance in that game. Like,
Cool.
his final monologue
For a free
was-
DLC.
Yes, for free DLC. Like,
Longer than Call of
his-
Duty's campaign.
his final
It is.
monologue. Yeah. I
God.
think it took me like maybe 7 hours, maybe, give or take. Maybe 8 hours at most.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
It's a lot.
for free DLC, and I'm playing it still. Like I beat it on the middle difficulty, like the one that's slightly harder than the recommended one, and I just started it again, on the show me prowess difficulty. I think it's the second hardest one, and I was able to get to the final boss. Died almost immediately, but that's what like roguelikes are about. It's just like it's a really good way of like tracking your skill and like seeing yourself get better, because outside of that genre, like it's kind of hard to like really gauge it, because you're always in like the same spots, like sometimes doing the same things over and over again. But in a roguelike, you really are kind of doing the same things over and over and over again, slight variations of them. But I think it's a more it really is a rewarding subgenre. I think it works in God of War really well. So
because they
I'm
even had
excited
a
eventually to
segment
get there too.
in, wasn't there was a segment or like a realm in God of War, I think, that had roguelike elements. It was like the maze or whatever, like the Misty Maze or whatever, if I'm not mistaken.
In 2018 or 2005?
Yeah, 2018.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I will say God of War is probably the only games that have, like, in the past few years have made me like get like almost like a rug burn on my finger.
Oh.
Just like and it's not even from the analog stick, it's from the button. Like, especially during the hardest fight in 2018,
Okay.
which took me like 3 hours of just constantly losing to finally beat it. I like my finger was just rubbed raw from all the flicking and the just.
I'm gonna be going like this the whole
It
time.
happened in here too. It happened in Valhalla. I was like, God damn! I'm sitting there blowing on my fingers and shit to cool it down.
The berserker fights in Valhalla are what did that for me. Like,
yeah.
Like some of those. I mean, again, I think the God of War games, these new ones specifically, have like probably my favorite combat of any game. But the berserker fights, especially the ones where you're fighting like two, and there's even one where you fight three of them all at once, kind of show the limitations of the combat system, because no combat system is perfect. And I think that game specifically, it's gank fights that are not very good, because the camera is so up close. It's so like tight, and that's like one of its strengths. It's so intimate and visceral. Like you feel like every swing of his axe. Like it feels so good. But in the ones where you're fighting multiple enemies, especially, I mean, if it's like a few like weak enemies, it's not so bad. Like those kind of fights are okay. But it's like the really strong ones, and because you're just like trying to get like one, even like sometimes barely even one hit in, two hits maybe if you're lucky, before one of the other enemies comes at you out of from the side, and you can't really see it. You have this stupid little indicator there, but you're mainly focusing on the enemy you're fighting. So it's just kind of an imperfect system for those types of encounters. Like the best fights in the games are the ones where you're fighting one strong enemy, and because it really shows the strengths of the combat, because you're like going back and forth. It's like tit for tat. And like the berserker fights in that game, they're just you and one other one. Amazing. Perfect. But yeah, that's like my only fault with that game's combat personally, is those gank fights. I just don't think they work well in the system at all.
Yeah. I'd love to go try to play through those games on the harder difficulties, but like I know what you were saying about Valhalla, Joe, where it's very spongy. And like I was talking to my best friend's older brother. He plays all games on the hardest difficulty. mainly because he designs games, and so he likes to see like how the game design works when you're playing on the hardest difficulty, and like see what breaks or whatever and everything like that. It's easier to find out like what is like how things work on the hard difficulty, like how things work and how they're broken and stuff like that. And I just don't think I'd be able to do that anymore. I can do hardest difficulty on some games, like, but would be a huge undertaking, like especially like if I can't remember if they added a permadeath mode or something. I don't even think I can fuck with that.
In the base game of God of War and Ragnarok, I was able to beat it on the second hardest difficulty. I tried once on the hardest one, and it's just no fun because again the enemies are just way too spongy. Like I will never understand why game designers think that is difficulty, where it's like, it's not just how much HP they have, it's also like their stagger too, because like you'll be like swinging your attack at a standard enemy and it's doing like chip damage, but at the same time they're able to hit you like while you're hitting them, and it just makes the combat less satisfying when it feels like your attacks aren't affecting them physically either. So I do think that God of War games specifically are games that are the best on either like the normal or like the slightly higher than normal difficulties, and the higher difficulties are just not fun. Like I know people are going to hear this and say like, oh, skill issue. It's just like, no, it's not satisfying to have each attack you're making barely do any damage to an enemy. Like it's just not fun.
If you want to watch a really good video about that, there's a guy named Joseph Anderson who's an author, but he does a lot of like critiques on YouTube. His God of War 2018 one I think is like 3 hours long, but a lot of his videos are, but they're all great. And his one in 2018, he gets into like the balancing issues of the game, especially when it came to like the indicator that you were mentioning and the sponginess of the enemies and the stagger and everything. And it was very fascinating to, it's fascinating to listen to someone else's like how they see these things that maybe I wouldn't, because
he's really good.
So God of War 2018, absolute certified banger.
Yeah. So I got one I really want to discuss, but before I get into it, because I got a lot to say. Any of you other guys have any games you're playing right now that you want to talk about?
Buying an absolute shit ton of games on Steam because I got like $70 for Steam gift cards for my birthday and Christmas. So yeah, I've been of all the games, like in a lot of these, some of them I played before, but like Alice Madness Returns, Pyre, Bastion, Transistor, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, all three Castlevania Lords of Shadow games. I bought Hades again. I bought Enter the Gungeon again and Exit the Gungeon. And then Shadows of Doubt, which is the main one that I really wanted to play. It's a procedurally generated like detective style game, and it uses like the Minecraft aesthetic, which I'm not sure how, like, I know there's a term for it. I can't remember what it's called. But it's incredibly fascinating. Like, it generates the city. Every single person has like their own name, details. Every building has every room that you can walk into and do something with. It's absolutely insane and just deep. It's very deep and detailed, and I can't wait to jump into it. Yeah. But other than that, I beat Valhalla, and and Metal Gear Solid 1 again. So,
favorite game.
I'll never stop playing that one.
I got to, there was one point that I said, like, man, this is fucking bullshit. Like, just because of how it controls. Like, the first one, it was, I was trying to go through the, just the laser field into the, like, from the main hangar to the snowfield with the tank. And, like, I freaking died, like, 3 times just running into it like an idiot. And then, there was another part. The sniper wolf fight pissed me off just because the control was really shitty.
There's 2 of them.
Yep. That one was a little easier, especially after you figured out like where she goes back and forth between like 2 locations, but it still was very controlled very poorly. There was another part though that I was like, this is.
Yeah, my favorite thing about PS1 controls with the sniper rifle is the fact that it's like not like your inputs are not like one for one with like the movement. So if you like hit like the button like one thing, it goes from like here to like here, and sometimes she's like right in the middle, but you're like, okay, here, move to the right slightly. Nope, now I'm too far to the right, like because each movement is like a rotation and not like a full like degree rotation, if you know what I'm talking about. Like it's just, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's just such a nightmare to go back and play now. But
Yeah,
I'm glad you're able to finish it because I couldn't.
Yeah, I absolutely did, and I'd like to go through it again. At some point, I doubt I'm going to be able to go through it. I doubt I'm going to be able to go through it on on hard difficulty or extreme difficulty because I just don't know if I could do it without the sonar radar because I'm a bitch. But playing 2 again was amazing, and I think playing through 2, like it got me thinking about when we had our Metal Gear discussion about how we were talking about like how like with 3 and 4 or like 3 at least, like I felt the game got a lot easier, and kind of the same thing with Twin Snakes. And I think in terms of Metal Gear Solid 3, it made me realize that with Metal Gear Solid 2, because of the way the game is designed and the levels designed, you don't have like a infinite amount of options to proceed in a certain way. Like if you have a room, you have like basically a couple ways that you can approach it. Whereas in 3, you have a bajillion ways to approach something because you have the camo system, you have all these different weapons, you have this giant open space. And it made me think of games like, Breath of the Wild and even Phantom Pain, where like the more you add, like the more options you have, the less difficult it makes it in a way, because instead of having to try to figure out like, to do this one thing like right, you can basically do like a million different things, and it just makes it a little easier in that way. I don't know. I'm rambling. Go ahead, Joe.
That's okay.
You wanted to talk about your big thing.
So speaking of difficulty levels, because I'll get to that. The games I played mainly over the last week or two were Alan Wake 1 and 2. Obviously, with how many awards Alan Wake 2 has gotten, like how much acclaim it has. It's big. We'll talk about it at the Game Awards. It's a big segment it's had, which I'm a little resentful about. I just figured, like, maybe it's about time I went and played these games. I was able to get the first one on sale for like $10, the remastered version, and I was able to get Alan Wake 2 on sale for like $48 for like the holiday sale. So I don't know if, speaking of Metal Gear Solid 1 as well, I don't know if I've played a game recently where I felt as different, where the gap between my enjoyment with the story versus the gameplay was bigger than with these games. The first game a little bit more, but where like I thought the story was really cool. I was pretty interested in the world it was building, but the game they built it around is just so tedious, so boring, and I just had no idea like how it could have been better, which is kind of a weird contradiction to say. Like I don't know what they really could have done, but I don't know. I just feel like Remedy they're really good at world building. They're really good at coming up with cool stories, cool twists, super creative. But I just don't think they're good at making games. I really don't. I mean, especially like coming off of like a year with like Resident Evil 4 remake, which I know was more of an action game. But then even something like Resident Evil 2 remake from a few years ago was more in line with what, especially Alan Wake 2 was trying to go for. And it's just such a pale imitation to me. And I just always found the parts about both these games were the parts where I wasn't actually playing them, or my inputs were just moving along, and enjoying the spectacle of it all. And obviously I know have you finished 2 yet, Danny?
So no, I haven't. Because that was
okay.
Crystal's big thing that she was playing through, and then she was playing through Alan Wake again, and I just kind of how by the way it's side. I think I got maybe like a third of the way through it, maybe, give or take.
I'll avoid spoilers then for obviously 2, but like with 1, I'll start with 1. Like the story in that one is interesting. It's cool, but it was definitely not enough to keep me going through the very mediocre gameplay. I told you guys I eventually just stopped playing it and just watched a YouTube compilation of all the cutscenes because I'm just like, I can't be the only one that feels this way. And I looked at all the comments and they were like yeah, like the gameplay was just really starting to drag. And I got to the section with the helicopter and I'm just like, fuck this. And I'm just like, yep, I hadn't even gotten that far yet. And I'm glad I didn't because a lot of people seem to be really hated this helicopter segment of the first game.
Did you get to the scene with the rocket, like on stage with the rock and roll concert when you're fighting the darkness monsters? Did
In
you get to that
1?
part? Yeah.
Oh no,
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, there's a sub part of the game where you go up on stage and there's like a rock concert basically playing the shining lights and everything, and you're fighting off the darkness.
This cutscene compilation I saw was not very good. Like there were segments where they were like showing like 2-minute long stretches of gameplay where nothing was happening, and I'm like, this is supposed to be a cutscene compilation. I know you have to put in some gameplay into those, but to like have to make it less jarring, so you like have like a sense of place. But yeah, I played the first I think 3 chapters of Alan Wake 1 before I was like, no, this is boring and stupid and I hate it, and I just wanted to see what happens because I really want to play 2 because everyone says that one's way better, and I would agree with that. 2 is it's a better story. The gameplay it's better, but it's still not good. But it's definitely the gap is a lot smaller. Where it's like 1, it was like a 7 out of 10 story with like 2 out of 10 gameplay, whereas 2 is like a 9 out of 10 story with like 5 out of 10 gameplay. Like, so it equals out to like a 7 out of 10 experience, I feel, overall. But no, with 2, it's gonna sound like a weird complaint. The game looks so good. Like it looks amazing. But this game also had a lot more exploration than the first one. And when a game looks too good, like too real, sometimes exploring is a pain in the ass because everything looks the same. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, like you don't know what you can interact with. You don't know what's special because nothing like
in that game.
nothing sticks out. You know, sometimes even just the way forward, you're like, you know, because the maps, you know, they're somewhat helpful, but they're not great. And there are just all these, you know, sections where I just didn't know where to go because the prompts it would give you would be super vague. It would be super, and I'm just like, I really am invested in this story, and I just want to know, you know, what's going on here. And but that's where 2 really shines. Like, again, 1 had a pretty good story overall. Didn't really care about any of the characters, you know. But 2, Alan is a bit more likable than he was in 1. In this, like in 1, he's like kind of a dick like the entire time.
Oh yeah.
Which tracks. He's like a hotshot writer and everything. So in 2, he's like a bit more humbled. But
after spending 13 years locked
and
up.
then you have the yeah, and then you have the other main character in 2, Saga, who I thought was a much more relatable and likable character, obviously, than Alan in the first game, and I think even still Alan in this game. Which is funny that I related more to the black female FBI agent than the white male writer, as I am a white male aspiring writer. She's just a better written character, and without spoiling too much, there's like, you know, she has a really strong connection to the main story, and there's a lot to discover about her, and there's a lot of mystery to her, to what's going on with her, that really kept you going throughout the whole game. But have you gotten to the parts at this point, Danny, where you're playing as Alan yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I just got past like that first or second part with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is the last thing I kind of want to talk about. The fact that this game came out just a couple months ago now in October, and the Game Awards were in early December. So like at this point, not a whole lot of people got to play this game yet. It's kind of a niche game, kind of a cult classic, sequel to a cult classic, and they spoiled the best part of the game at the Game Awards. And it's a segment that would have been so cool to have experienced on my own. And it's kind of a catch-22 because I do feel like seeing that segment at the Game Awards, and again, I don't want to spoil it right now because maybe someone didn't see the Game Awards who's listening and, won't have that, happen to them, and I don't want that to. But it's a segment that's so unexpected, and if I had gone into it completely blind, it would have been way cooler than it was, and it was still really fucking cool. It was really creative and fun, and could we put up like a spoiler tag, Blake, for someone who doesn't want to hear? Because you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, because you guys both watched the Game Awards, right?
I did watch it. I don't really know what you're describing.
Oh, then I don't want to. Then I don't want to spoil that either for you, because it's really cool, and I'm resentful of the Game Awards for doing that, because it's like the game came out a month ago. Why are you spoiling the coolest part of it in your ceremony? And it was cool, and it was nice to see, this segment recreated, on stage. But at the same time, at this point, not a whole lot of people had a chance to play the game because October was so stacked. So many people were busy playing Spider-Man and Mario Wonder and didn't get a chance to play Alan Wake 2 yet. So, it's all a matter of like finding that balance between like marketing your game and then wanting to get people's interest while also not completely fucking ruining it for people at the same time. I don't know. I just really wish I could have experienced that from the start. But honestly, playing through or just watching like a YouTube video of Alan Wake 1 and then playing Alan Wake 2 just to experience that segment alone is worth the price of admission, because it is possibly, it was far from my favorite game of last year, Alan Wake 2, but that segment was probably my favorite segment from any game of last year. It was really that cool. But yeah, Alan Wake, cool story, really great. 2 kind of, as much as the story is great, also has kind of a weak ending, though. Just like the first one had a super weak ending. I hate to say it. I don't think Remedy can write endings super well. Because I think they always want it to keep connecting. They always want it to keep connecting to the next thing that they do. So they can't make something too satisfying or too conclusive, to do that. And that just makes each individual installment, I feel, a little bit unsatisfying from that perspective. Because what are we gonna have to wait another 13 years to play Alan Wake 3? To see what happens then? Because not spoiling anything. It's they seem to want to make an Alan Wake 3.
So I'm curious, because I know you said you beat it, and I know you said that because you beat it, you also didn't want to play through the game again on New Game Plus because they added like another ending to it. Did you watch the other ending in New Game Plus?
I did.
Okay.
And also I wanted to mention, I mentioned difficulty levels before. I played both these games on the easiest difficulty because the gameplay sucks, and I don't play games with shitty gameplay on anything but the easiest difficulty because I don't want to waste my time, being frustrated as well as bored. But yeah, in order to experience the true ending, which apparently was a DLC, apparently it didn't ship with the true ending.
It was a free DLC.
It was free DLC, which is nice.
New Game Plus.
But yeah, there's a true ending which was neat, but it wasn't worth going through the entire game again, for that. And apparently there's some minor changes in the story in New Game Plus that aren't super significant. I looked them up and I'm just like, okay, I know what they are.
So there's also DLC coming out for this too, because they have a season pass that's going to 2 other expansions too.
I would have been pissed if I played that game, before the free DLC, and the ending you got for the first run is just so shitty. It's like, God damn it, Remedy, like just make an ending. You don't have to make. Not everything has to be a cliffhanger.
It's funny because with Control, they had their DLCs, but like Control is like kind of like the central thing to their Remedyverse now, where it branches off and like so you have Alan Wake, you might have Quantum Break in there, and then possibly Max Payne because I'm not sure how this is going to work now since James McCaffrey passed away, the voice of Max Payne.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with the remake. Either they use maybe they keep everything beat for beat, just remaster the gameplay like this, maybe the combat encounters and the graphics and everything like that. But I don't know. I doubt they'll I would not want to see them re-record it with another actor at all because James McCaffrey's voice is like.
Did he do the voice in 3?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And he did the motion capture too, which was also very cool. So yeah, he did the voice of Max Payne. He did Alan Wake. He plays Thomas Zane, and he plays Director Trench in Control, and he also
he's Alex Casey too.
Yeah, which is funny again because you have Sam Lake
doing the face
character, doing the face, and voiced by James McCaffrey again.
Yeah, it's really bittersweet too.
Yeah,
you could tell that with Alan Wake 2, they had a lot of fun making it. You can tell that there's a lot of passion put into it. So I respect it more than I like it. And if I ever do want to experience it again, I'll probably just be through like YouTube videos and stuff like that. But I can't say I didn't have an overall positive experience with it because I did enjoy the story so much. I did enjoy the characters a lot, even though it wasn't super conclusive. And it actually made me kind of want to go back and try Control again, because I feel like I might have a little deeper appreciation, for
Did
it
you beat
all.
Control?
No, I got stuck on this weird piranha plant boss that was really frustrating.
Okay.
And I was just like, this is dumb and annoying, and I don't really care about what's going on in the story. And I think that was like right around the time I was really into Hades because that had just come out. But
Yes.
It's cool.
But yeah, it definitely might be a game I want to go back and give a shot now that I've done it. So yeah, watch the YouTube video for Alan Wake 1. Play Alan Wake 2 on easy mode, unless you really like the gameplay. Someone else might really enjoy boringly flashing a flashlight at people and shooting them a couple of times, and doing it to the same 3 enemies, which are just guy, big guy, and dog.
Bigger guy.
Yeah. Guy. It's such crappy gameplay, but the story and atmosphere and creativity carry it a lot. It's kind of like Mass Effect 1, where I love the game's story so much that I will go back and play it every now and then on the easiest difficulty, just because I really enjoy the parts that aren't the game so much.
Yeah.
So I am curious, what did you think about the Mind Place? Because I know that was a very divisive gameplay addition for a lot of people.
I found it not terrible, actually. At first I thought I was going to be annoyed by it, but I don't think it was as intrusive as a lot of people said it was. Like, there are certain times you have to use it to figure out what to do next, which can be a little bit annoying, but they're honestly few and far between. It's usually more there to kind of lead you in the right direction. But if you play enough, you can usually go there. So I really didn't mind it as much as a lot of people did.
I felt the same way with my times doing it.
Yeah, and
nice.
I really thought it would, because I usually hate that kind of shit. I'm just like, why can't I just play the game? But it's like a detective game, and I like that they still have that. And I do kind of wish there was a bit more letting you figure out the solutions to the puzzles versus because Saga will be like, okay, I have to figure out where is the item I need hidden, and she somehow just automatically knows it, and there's a reason for that in the story, which is fine. But it would have been nice, instead of her just knowing where these things were, to you having to do a little bit more detective work to figure those things out. Because honestly, the puzzle solving and all that stuff was probably my favorite part of the gameplay. every time I would get into like a combat encounter, I would just be like, my brain would just check off. But the segments where you have to solve these little nursery rhymes on the ground and the exploration in the world, when I was able to figure out where the fuck to go in the world, were actually pretty fun. And I think the game would have been a little bit better if it had more, puzzle solving and stuff. But I know Remedy has to satisfy its investors. I know there's still a game company, and they can't be too freaky or out there. Oh, speaking of that, and this is why no one should ever listen to executives ever. The segment of Alan Wake 2, my wife found this out. She looked it up. That I was talking about, that was one of the coolest segments in any game I've played in a long time. Apparently, the executives who were funding this game wanted them to cut it. The best and most memorable part of the game, because they thought it was too weird and didn't contribute much to the story. And I'm just like, this goes to show you that fucking executives and producers never know what the fuck they're talking about.
Oh yeah, that sounds exactly like something a suit would say.
Yep. Oh,
exactly
this part's
what
like too fun and like too interesting and
Yeah.
creative. Like, we just
Yeah.
want a game where you shoot guys, and on the front cover it's like a black and white guy like holding a gun. Like that's the game. That's what you're making.
Yeah.
But I respect it because it is so unique. It is such an out
They're
there
one of the
game,
few companies
you
I
know,
think that still do something like that. They do something that's very like because all their games they were able to do something very creative and interesting and
Mhm.
thought provoking.
Yeah.
Not many developers can do that. Like I think maybe Kojima is like one of the only other ones who's like able to
Mhm.
basically just put his brain diarrhea in all its glory.
I think Nintendo too.
Yeah, okay.
Nintendo obviously are stuck in a lot of their ways, but they still do their own thing. They still, make games that aren't, trying to fit a certain trend. If anything, they're bucking even trends that people like, in many cases, for better or worse. But I think they're definitely one of them too. And FromSoft, but that's more from like a gameplay perspective than like a a story or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, Blake or Joe, have you guys played Alan Wake?
I had seen I have not. And actually, I'll say this on the Alan Wake 2 cover, like the main one. At first glance, every single time I see that, I think Keanu Reeves is right there for
Yeah.
some reason. It's just like, it's not him.
He looks just like Keanu Reeves in this one. He really
Okay.
does.
Yeah, I've not played either one. I've seen Alan Wake like pop up a couple of times over since it had come out, but I never really wanted it never took me in. And I probably will. I most likely will play the second one. But if I need to get any backstory and stuff, I'm just gonna watch someone play it on YouTube.
Watch the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Just trying to find a better one than one I watched. I don't know why. It's not a good compilation.
I was trying to see if
Gotcha.
I was trying to see if Andy Gillian had done one because he does a lot of like he takes the games and he compiles them into movies. Like when I was working on an Uncharted screenplay way back when, I was watching his stuff because he takes the all the cutscenes, he adds like some gameplay with like some of the dialogue and like to lead you from place to place, and usually gets them in like I think it was like 2 hours or 2.5 hours for the first game, like maybe 3 hours for the second, 3.5, and then 4 hours or whatever it was for the fourth game. But he does a good job at like trimming all, and he has like hundreds of videos on his channels, like all different kinds of games, like the Batman Arkham trilogy, The Witcher. I think he has. And I was trying to see him for Alan Wake, but he did not. And yeah,
nice.
But anyway,
I played Alan Wake on the 360 when it came out. Many years ago.
You and I were one of only like 10 people that did.
Like many years ago. Yeah, like I think I don't think I got it like I remember I got it like within the month that it came out. And I played the hell out of it. And I beat the campaign and haven't played it since. So I
Play 2.
skipped out on
By
I skipped out on the what was it, the DLC American Nightmare?
There were actually 2 DLCs that came out for the base game. They're episodes, which I never got to beat those either. And then, yes, the American Nightmare DLC was like a horde mode, which, from what Crystal says, it's basically just horde mode gameplay. So if you don't like the combat, you're probably not going to like this. 'Cause it's just more of it. But she said that the villain that they introduced, like the little sword that they have in there, is awesome. And like the main villain there, which I'm not sure if he's in the second game. I can't remember. I think he might be in there. But in American Nightmare, his name is Mr. Scratch, and he's like an evil version of Alan Wake. But he's in like this bitchin' like a dress shirt, vest, tie, like dress pants. Very cool. But yeah, if you don't like the gameplay, you won't like American Nightmare. So
yeah, I remember
it's just the gameplay.
The only part of the gameplay I really remember is that flashlight. And then
which weird. I think that flashlight was better in the first game. I don't know why. Like, I just feel like the way it works in the second game,
yeah,
is just a little bit more frustrating.
I remember ammo was incredibly limited, and you basically just had to like sneak around with the flashlight and make your shots count. Am I kind of in the ballpark on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Problem with both these games, and I don't want to go on too much longer about them, but is that every game has like some level of filler, some level of, well, you got to the location you were going to, but then like a fucking plane fell down and blocked your way, and now you have to go all the way fucking around it to do the whole level. Like, there's a ton of that in like God of War, but in those games, the core gameplay loop is so fun that you don't mind it so much because you're like, great, I get to fucking hit more guys with my axe. Whereas in Alan Wake, you just, every time it fucking happens, like, you'll like get to like the sheriff's office and she'll be like, okay, well, we have to go to the helicopter, which is like right there. I'm like, great. And they're like, yeah, but the keys to the helicopter are in like a factory on the other side of town.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I gave it to the foreman of the factory that's a mile away, and the straight road that goes there is it's just full of potholes. You can't get your Ford Flex down it, and
there's a waist-high barrier like down that road.
Yeah, you can't go down that road.
Can't go down that dirt road.
Too much.
That other dirt road.
Wouldn't go down that road.
Nice.
That road's got a waist-high barrier.
You can never go across.
You have to go down that road.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. It reminds me of a lot of the things you have to do in any of the Legend of Zelda games. It's like, cool. Oh, you want to go there? Cool. Well, here's this item. You got to go get. You got to get it from this guy. But he's not going to give it to you because you got to do this thing for him. Like, oh my God, please.
That was like my biggest complaint. That's why, having played, and I know we talked about this briefly like a couple of months ago, but I beat Ocarina of Time finally after trying so many times.
Oh, nice.
And that was one of my biggest complaints about that game, is because what Ocarina of Time did set the formula for the Zelda game for the next like 15 years until we got to like Breath of the Wild, basically, or with the exception of Link Between Worlds, which was beautiful. Minus Wind Waker. Wind Waker's another diamond in the rough at that point. But like Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, they were all kind of following off Ocarina's format, which I did not care for. But as I said then, I get why it was so loved back then. But the game has not aged well, and I don't see myself going back and playing that unless nice.
I wish I still had my gold copy.
Got that too.
I'm so upset I got rid of that years ago.
But I don't see myself going back and playing it.
Is your Metal Gear Solid 1?
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, I guess, but like at the same time, at least. There's always something happening in Metal Gear Solid 1, whereas in Ocarina of Time, there's a lot of just times where there's nothing happening, like during the running. Like, I know there's a lot of backtracking and stuff, but at least there's something, like there might be some guys that you have to avoid, so you're at least like kind of engaging. It's not like you're just turning your brain off and just riding to the next NPC.
Yeah, there's always a ton of bullshit to do in Metal Gear Solid 1. I love it. It's always a fucking annoying wolf that you can't shoot because it's too low, or there's always...
Hey, I mean, get the piss box or whatever. Get the
I'll
piss
stick with
box.
Twin Snakes.
That's fine. That's okay. You know what's funny? I got through those segments because I remember you talked about that. I got through the first time I got through it without any incident whatsoever. The second time I got hit once, and then the third time when you have to go back after beating Sniper Wolf, you get her handkerchief. So I just equipped that, and I was fine.
Look at Danny telling me I'm a shitty gamer, just subtly.
Hey, I get why people hate that part.
If you're shitty at games, you'd probably hate it. It's just get good.
If you're broke, boy, just say
get
so.
good.
Get good at this 30-year-old game.
For sure.
But Majora's
Any last
Mask.
things you guys wanna? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say Majora's Mask, though, I like a lot more though because it actually does something interesting and everything is a little more. I think it's just because the core gameplay loop is a little there's that fetch quests or whatever going to one NPC to the other in parts, but I feel it's much shorter. Like the trek around those places is shorter, and once you get certain things, it locks it in place for you. It's just a more interesting experience. But again, that was the only thing I really had to say.
Yeah.
No, totally. Any last
Um,
games you guys want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I played 4 hours of Sly Cooper 2 today.
Woo!
Because I'm slowly just plugging away. I platinum one way back when, and so I don't really feel the need to go back and play it again. At least right now, I might do it again at some point. But played 2. I also booted up Metal Gear, actual Metal Gear, the MSX version on the collection. And I was like, I never really played this one. I got to the first boss fight and I beat it, and that was it. I took a little break.
Damn.
Nice.
But thanks everyone for watching. If you want to,
thank you.
Comments, tell us what we're doing well, what we could improve. Things like that always helps us out. We're new to this, so we appreciate it.
Yep.
So,
All right.
All right, guys.
All right.
seeing you
I'll
guys.
see y'all.
Night all.
Bye.
Yeah, we'll figure out next time. Okay.
Sounds
Cool.
good.
Peace
All
out.
right,
Take care,
guys.
guys.
You
Bye.
too.
Good night.